Are you a runner who keeps getting diagnosed with overuse injuries even after taking time off? Or maybe you know a runner who keeps getting overuse injuries after taking time off. My name's Ryan Tisdale. I'm a doctor of physical therapy, a board certified sports specialist, and a running technique specialist. Here at Kinesis PT and Performance, we specialize in working with athletes and specifically runners. Let me show you what we see with our runners who come into the clinic of why they're getting these overuse injuries. So when runners come into our facility, one of the things we always make sure we do, especially if they're coming to see me for an injury, is we take a look at their running technique. Because oftentimes what's happening is we have a breakdown in the technique somewhere. So they're getting diagnosed with an overuse injury when really it's a misuse injury, meaning the way they are running is putting excessive stress on the tissue, and a correction of their technique can fix that issue real quickly. So I'll show you one thing we look at, and the first and most important thing being initial contact. And no, it's not how the foot hits the ground. A lot of people get hung up on whether it's a toe strike, heel strike, midfoot. It's not how the foot hits the ground, but where the foot hits the ground. And let me show you that and explain here. So we're gonna take a look at my beautiful wife, Kayleen, kind of running down the track here. And what we're gonna do here is we're gonna kind of appreciate her running in slow motion as I click through frame by frame, and just eyeball where you see her foot coming down relative to what we call center of mass. So that would be initial contact there, and we actually have a still shot of this that we mark up. So I'm gonna click that right there. So here is initial contact. So what we're looking at in this position is where her foot hits relative to her center of mass, or center of gravity as it would be on the ground below her. We have two lines here. We have a purple angle here, which is marked at 92.6 degrees. Don't get too hung up on the numbers. I'll explain that in a sec. Then we have an orange line coming down from her center of mass down to the ground, and that is showing center of gravity. Center of gravity is where your center of mass falls on the ground. All right, so this 92.6 degrees, what that is showing is actually her tibial angle when she hits the ground. So because it's 92.6 or greater than 90 degrees, it's showing that her tibia is actually reclined, and it's almost like she's reaching out for the ground when she hits. So what that means is Kayleen is in fact overstriding, and this is a serious problem. Overstriding is probably the most problematic or causes the most issues for the runners that we see. Being an overstride places excessive stress because every single step you're losing kinetic energy because you're absorbing it as your foot hits out in front of you. If we took a still shot like we have here of Kayleen and I asked her to stand in this position, she cannot do it because that orange line is showing where her center of mass and center of gravity is. Because it's not over a basis of support being her foot, she'd be falling backwards. So in this instance, when we have runners landing out in front of themselves with a forefoot or like a toe strike, what we see people coming into the clinic with is plantar fasciitis, Achilles tendinopathy, issues with their gastroc soleus, aka their calves. Now, that doesn't mean go to a heel strike. If people are heel striking during an overstride, the stress just gets transmitted up the chain because it's not getting absorbed by the ankle. So when we hit with our heel, it goes through the bones, goes through the tibia, and we see people end up in the clinic with knee issues, hip issues, back issues, what have you. Now, this is just one thing we look at, and understand the running technique is really the root origin and the cause of their problem. What tissue breaks down, that's just a matter of which one's the most unfortunate, okay? So sometimes you'll see injuries moving through different parts of the body for this reason. So if this sounds familiar or something that you've dealt with as a runner, or you know a runner who has, reach out, share this video with them. We'd love to help you out and take a look at your running technique and see what we can do to make running more enjoyable and fun again.